I could go back 500 years, 1,000 years, to a village of my ancestors. I could walk in, talk to them. They can still understand me, and they can still recognize me. I might be kind of a dumb Meskwaki because I wouldn't know certain technology. You know, I could not make an arrowhead, but they would understand me of what I was about, you know, who I was. You know, I'm confident that they would recognize me as their descendants. And in my job, it's very hard to talk to people that think the world is 5,000 years old when you're thousands of years old. You know,
My name is Luke Capello, and my Meskwaki name is Gaga Geese. And that name was given to me by my grandmother. When I was growing up, I was raised by my grandparents and my mother. And where we lived at, Meskwaki was spoken 100% of the time. And there were no TVs around and no electricity. So all I heard was Meskwaki. And I didn't learn English until I started going to school.
well, my English name is Jonathan Lance Buffalo. That's the name I use to exist in this modern world. Driver's license, income tax, and everything else. But in the Meskwaki world, my Indian name is Kishkinanos. And the name comes from my grandfather. That was his Indian name. And his English name was John Buffalo. And when we die, the name is returned to the clan it came from. And they add it to their list again. And 4 years later, the name can be used for another baby. So I'm the Gishkinanos of my world, and my grandfather was the Gishkinanos of his world. So.
My name is Stephanie Bad Soldier Snow. My great grandmother, Sophie White Swan, is the person who brought me here after I was born. And her 2 daughters and my grandfather, her son, were basically the people who raised me. My experience was that at the beginning, they did not speak to me directly in Meskwaki. They chose to use English so that I would have a little bit of a head start when I got to school. However, the 3 of them got together all the time and were fluent speakers, and that's all they spoke to each other. And so therefore, I learned Meskwaki and just started to speak right along with them, and they thought it was funny. They thought it was cute. So,
my name is Mary Youngbear. My Meskwaki name is Bunabik, and I'm a member of the Bear Clan. My parents both are Meskwaki. They both spoke Meskwaki to each other in the home, and my grandmother was out there as well, and my uncles. They all spoke Meskwaki to each other, but for some reason unknown to me, they didn't teach us, all the kids. So we had we were aware of it, and we could pick up the meaning of certain like commands, things like that. But we couldn't carry a conversation. Everybody, my adults age and older, were all fluent speakers and spoke to each other in Meskwaki. But I believe most of my cousins were like me, and we spoke English to each other, and people in the community spoke English to us.
All four of them had sort of negative experiences with education and not being able to speak their language. And my grandmother had experienced capital punishment when she spoke Meskwaki or any other native languages, which she actually learned too.
And we're always under threat of government policy. Might swing our way, but then might swing the other way. And the other threat is Christianity. People keep insisting on trying to convert us to follow another God, which incidentally is a different language. And ultimately, nobody took away our language except ourselves. Gradually, bit by bit. We're the ones that are losing it. There might be forces working against it, but we're the ones that are losing it. Nobody came into the settlement and said, stop speaking your language. We stopped speaking our language.
There is only certain ways that you can say things in your traditional tribal language that you can't really express in English. And it has a fuller meaning. I think a lot of people have already sort of expressed that English is doesn't have a lot of substance. It's a tool nonetheless, but it just really doesn't have the same heart that many indigenous languages do.
To be a functioning Meskwaki man, father, then grandfather, then uncle, nephew, all through the kinship system of communicating with my relatives more deeply than I can communicate with them in English. I've been called damn Indian, and it doesn't hurt me. Might get me mad, but it doesn't wound me. But if somebody cusses me out in Meskwaki, it wounds me. I feel it more than some guy cussing me out. So, and same way with the opposite end of love. When I tell my wife Suzanne I love her in Meskwaki, it has more meaning. It's more intimate than the word I love you.
My name's Avis Bear Bass. My Indian name is Meskwaki. It means bear woman. Pretty simple. I come from the Bear clan. My parents, Alvin and Gia, they would have us speak Meskwaki during supper or mealtime. And if we wanted something, we had to ask for it in Meskwaki. So, my dad had always said, we have to learn our language because that's how we do our prayers and, our songs. And that's how our Creator's going to understand us.
We're living in our Meskwaki world, side by side with this imposed theology. And if we converted, then we could speak the language of that part. But on the Meskwaki side, we use our language to communicate to our ancestors and our gods, and I can pray to my gods more profoundly than I can say in English.
My name is Daniel Hollis Young Bear Brown, and my Meskwaki name, first one is Mononina Duk, and the other one is Nimaho. Well, I really started getting serious about learning it when I went to the settlement school. And I had a good teacher. He was Alvin Bear. He's no longer with us, but he really instilled a lot of that want. And he made me feel comfortable to want to learn it. Because I was just a babe in the woods, so to speak. There wasn't no one really I could talk to about that kind of stuff. I had uncles and stuff, people like that were into it, but I never really connected to them until I was already a grown man. And he was the first one that kind of opened the door for that opportunity to learn it.
My name's Stephen Capel. My native name is Bakaka. I heard about the languages classes they was offering. And, I was kind of scared at first because, people kind of, I think it's the concept of people making fun of you when you can't pronounce the word properly. And that's like one of my biggest problems. It's my language, but it's kind of like a foreign language because I never spoke it as much.
Oh, Saswashig Netashis. Nakenwami Sujik. My name is Saswashig, and the meaning of that is like a swan splashing in the water. And my English name, is Tanoch. Tanoch Snow.
I try to use as much of the language as I can when I'm praying, just for myself or my family, my sisters, their kids. A lot of the speaking I do is on their behalf because they're just like me. They're still learning and they're picking it up as best as they can. And whatever little bit I can use, I'll use for them.
As soon as I learn to speak it better, I'll be able to interact more with our elders that we got, and be able to speak to them in our language. And not only that, I'll be able to pass it on to the little ones in our family.
So I'm really happy for the fact that we have our language program at this school. They've done a great job, and I know that both of my kids have said that one teacher in particular has been really, really effective with them, and they've learned a lot. And so that's something that makes our school unique, and it strengthens us as a people. So
the way I see it, my Meshus and my Gokus before me took it upon themselves to protect this language throughout the years. And they went through way more things than what I've gone through. They've, like, famine, plague, persecution, prejudice, racism, all that. They went through it. And throughout all that, they managed to keep the language going, keep our ceremonies going, and it'd be a shame if this is the generation that lost it.
Well, I'm hoping that I could use the language to, show to people what the earth means to us, because we're connected to the language, we're connected to the earth, we're Meskwaki people, Red Earth people, and we want to use that to show.
As a tribe, I think we're all trying to find that balance of trying to save our language and still being able to live in this outside world.
Sapane ke nametam ke napata ke nametam ke napata ke apena moske no ke to si me apena moske no ke to si me sapane ke nametam ke napata ke nametam ke napata apena moske no ke to si me apena moske no ke to si me